right. All right. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, guys. I would like to thank you for joining me right here. This is it. This is it. This is it, huh? No, this is it. Really, episode 1. It's here. It's right now. Like, lock it in. Like, share it with a friend. Like, lock it in and rip the keyboard off. It's here. heDONizm. We're in rotation. This is episode 1. On your mark, get set. Here I go. Oh, here I come. So, I just want to welcome you guys. Let me stop being so corny and jovial, but I'm a little hype. I'm a little extra today for one simple reason, and that is because it's my birthday. And let me just pause for a minute and be just a little selfish in this pod and say thank you to all of you who have been wishing me birthday wishes all day. My phone is on mute. It's been about work. It's been heads down for me today, but I will get to those responses and thank all of you personally. But if I don't get a chance to thank you guys, don't hold me to it, please. I ain't gonna hold you, but that's a lot. It can be quite overwhelming when it's your birthday and on social media you get hundreds of happy birthdays. They say the same thing, and I wish there was an algorithm, or I wish there was some coding where I can just click one thank you. But it's so near, dear, and personal, just like a Hallmark card. And you want to reach out to each individual who took their time just to say, what up, happy birthday, do your dance, or whatever that entails. But today is all about the alignment. From the 0 episode, that being Nas' birthday, is when I wanted to drop the 0 episode, and today the alignment brings to my birthday. So keeping with the course, and for those who don't know, this is heDONizm, spelled with the Z, right? So it's not, some of you probably Googled hedonism and got some freaky stuff. I ain't about that. I'm not into that. And matter of fact, I got some inboxes on some funny stuff, but we're not into that. So please come back to hedonism. But the root and the base is the pleasures that one can find. This is my ability to reach out, interact, that human interaction. And yes, I know we're not face to face, but I'm an extrovert, as some of you can tell. So I have to use this gift that I was blessed with. So who am I? I'm Dante. Some call me Tay. In the world of hip hop, I'm DJ Mecca Don, or the Don Mecca. Some call me Rick James. Some call me Coach. Some may even call me Ref. And for those that know, you do know. But just please do me one favor and don't call me with drama. So where are we in hedonism? So we're in an age of cancel culture, right? It's happening by storm, judged by the court of public opinion. And I'll be careful with my words, but just in case I drop a noun, adjective, pronoun, or even an expletive, please don't hold me to it. My baseline and my goal here is just to pod. So about podding, right? There is one appealing thing about podcasting, and that is how easy they are to enjoy. I challenge you, if you've been contemplating or if you have received a vision to get into the world of podcasting, there's space for everybody. I said this in the 0 episode, but I'll say it again for the cheap seats. There are hundreds and thousands of podcasts created and built daily, right? Some are extra intriguing. Even some of the ones that are not so good had that little bit of sauce that makes you want to listen and tune in even more. The lane is hedonism. And what is it about? I just want to keep my audience and my listeners in scope. It's about culture and society. It is about the basis or the derivatives of hip hop. We're all derivatives of hip hop in some sort of way. If you look at capitalism, if you look at how the world has evolved, it has an ounce of hip hop in it somewhere. And I will use hip hop as some of those deep dives, or to take us down a navigational path as to how we get to some things. So when you hear me just spazzing out, those are called the donologues. So that will be the basis of what we get into from hedonism when it comes from me getting into some of those deep dives. But some were asking me, and I thought they were beautiful questions, and I just wanted to address them up front just so I don't lose anyone. But what was my inspiration for the donologues and hedonism? Well, I was inspired by the writing of 2 playwrights, right? And they were movies, but that being Love Jones and Brown Sugar. More in particular, I want to hone in on a particular scene when Angie Martinez was interviewing not Yassine Bey, but Taye Diggs or Sinai, and the question was, when did you fall in love with hip hop? And just the authenticity of the way she asked that question, it kept replaying in my mind, and I thought to myself, what a great segment, what a great lifestyle. Brown Sugar gave a taste or a recipe of what hip hop looked like, or what hip hop looks like when it's sexy. Well, what does hip hop look like when it's vulnerable? What does hip hop look like when it's often imitated but never duplicated? So if you look at Yasin Bey's character versus Taye Diggs' character versus Sinai's role in the movie and some of the intricate players in that movie, it does a deep dive in hip hop more than you know. And it's one that I can watch over and over. Great date night if you haven't seen it. For some of the youngsters, it may lose you in some of the dialogue, but I think the script is one that's here to stay. So please check out Brown Sugar. I always want to start my pods off with gratitude. I just think that's the best way to go. It's part of my routine and regimen when I wake up. And I'm grateful for the ability to pivot in a space, right? You have a dream. You'll hear me say these quotables a lot. Don't die with dreams inside. Rest in peace, Nas. But when you think of what goes on in your brain, something you want to birth, and you're just impregnated with this idea, and you know for a fact, I want to launch that joint, but I don't know how to do it. Well, do me a favor. Don't contemplate on it. Turn on the camera. Get a noteboard out. And you know what I love? And those who know me know, sticky notes. Put them everywhere. Guess what? It's a sticky and a note. So jot down your ideas, even if it wakes you up at 4 o'clock a.m. in the morning, even if it gives you restless nights. I bid that, and I put that on those of you who are contemplating a dream. I put that on you. I put that on you, that you have sleepless nights for your dreams, but yet you impregnate them, you carry them, you make them healthy, and you birth them. Okay. So I am grateful for the ability to pivot in an atmosphere where I know my worth. I know my worth in this environment when it comes to my role in life, my impact on others, but most importantly, in this day and age of technology, I do understand that life evolves around, in modern day, of ones and zeros. There is one other special character that it really comes down to, and some of you may know it as an EBITDA, but I see it as a $sign. If the ones and zeros don't make sense, ultimately the $sign will give you the telltale of the inevitable. I don't know. I said to you in the last episode that what you see today may not be what you see tomorrow. The whole background may change. I'm going to reference something, and that was Stephen A. Smith from First Take. Went out, and I'm coming back to you, Stephen A. So if you're listening, or if there are Stephen A. fans out there, buckle up. I'm coming. And it's subjective thinking, not to put a pin in that. I'll be right back. But it was his ability to go from First Take to a podcast. Stephen A., it was called No Mercy. But later on down the line, No Mercy went to the Stephen A. Smith show. Right now, it is heDONizm. That's what I want to stick to. It was the idea that I impregnated. It was the concept that I impregnated. It was the process, it was the strenuous and tedious process that I fell in love with. But heDONizm came out of this. But you never know. What you see today may not be what you see tomorrow, but I invite you to stay the course. I've already told you we're already at a high altitude right now. There's no coming down, right? There's no coming down. On the topic of gratitude, I just want to thank you guys for rocking with me as I got into my vulnerability bag, right? And honored my man Nas in the Zero episode. It was very, very necessary for me, but at the same time, I wanted to share with others. And this is something we have to recreate in the hip hop community, what it is to embrace another black man without de-identifying your masculinity, or not being afraid to show vulnerability towards another man without leaving the scope of your beliefs of being heterosexual, LGBTQ plus community. But I just think we need to see more black men honoring black men. And it's a shame that it comes to the point of the loss of a black man where we start to show flowers. You know, shout out to Nori over at Drink Champs. They actually have patent flowers to give to their guests when they come. I think that is phenomenal, and that's one of the dopest podcasts out there, Drink Champs. They've had some dodo moments on that show, but I love the vulnerability. I love the honesty. I love the fact that they're pulling people out of the woodwork to go, hey, remember this one? We're going to get into a deep dive about that one. But I wanted to show my vulnerability to honor another Black man, but yet someone I was mentoring, but at the same time, what would you do for a loved one of yours that has transitioned? Would it just be a matter of you attending a ceremony? Or would you do something special to honor them? That's rhetorical. That's for you to take as a homework assignment. Maybe put a sticky note and say, hey, what do I do if we all need to prepare for the inevitable? Which that's almost an oxymoron because it's almost hard to prepare for the inevitable. But get the noodle going. Get the noodle going. This was something I did not expect. But I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare press record or go forward without taking the time to honor my guy. And again, salute, prayers, and thoughts out to the Lee family. Over the past week, keeping in the same realm of gratitude, but just a recap of how things went from the 0 episode to the first episode. Over the past week, I had the lovely opportunity to enjoy the F word, and that's family. And we had a family reunion, and it was amazing. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't overcooked. There wasn't too much sauce or seasons in the recipes. It was an organic, good old family. Let's get together and collab our families. The way it was done, I don't think my family understand how important they are. I don't know if they understand how much they are loved near and far. I think that sometimes people get into their extended families where the niece or the nephew or the son or the daughter have their own families. They marry, they bring another name into the household, or in-laws come into the household, and then that family have children, or maybe that family have children and then their children have children, and then it starts to compartmentalize or separate families from the tree. If you get what I'm saying, that tree start to develop more limbs, and the focus becomes your family. But what a beautiful thing it was for everyone to bring their compartmentalized, and I don't know if I'm using the right word, but I think you guys see where I'm going, to bring their branches of the tree to the family, and all the different makes, models, kinds, backgrounds, ideologies, the way people are. They brought their whole selves to the family reunion, and it was beautiful. And let me just say to my family, I love you guys, and what an honor it was for us to get together. Shout out to all of those that played a part in the organization. You know, some people despise group chat and family chats, but what do you do if you can't talk to someone anymore? So cherish these days while you can. And yes, it can be overwhelming, but just enjoy. Like I said, if you don't do anything, fall in love with the process. But it was beautiful. I bid all of you a good year until we meet again. And let's talk when it's convenient, no force. Let's make it organic. Let's talk in between that time. And in between time, you'll be in my thoughts and prayers during this time. And I wish you all the best. And let me just say this. I have a thing for young adults, teenagers, adolescents, and children, because guess what? Sometimes we forget. You know, they say old habits die hard, and you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And that's just the old way of thinking. Well, I feel like, especially when it comes to hip hop, where we drop the ball, and I'm speaking to men more particular, where we dropped the ball is we didn't download, or we didn't do enough knowledge transfer with some of our youth for them to be able to have the necessary tools that they may need to grow, survive, and sustain what it is to be their natural selves. But it was beautiful. Not too much on that, but I have a homework assignment for everyone. Do a self-scan, right? And see if you have a reset button, right? So during this process of healing, I was able to start and complete some therapy assignments. Yes, I said therapy assignments. ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, he, him, they, all of you. I don't want to exclude everyone. Let me just say everyone, everybody. Please do not fear the ability to get help, even when you feel it's necessary, warranted, or when you feel a slight edge of maybe I need to talk to someone. Embark on that. Okay. So with that being said, one thing I was challenged with was for me to identify if I have a reset button. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about the Michael Jackson prophet, right? I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. Oh my goodness. So I didn't realize how much the pandemic actually affected me and my ability to stretch and sustain. I think some of you may feel the same thing. Why? We're back into human interaction. I was in a public setting the other day and shook multiple people's hand, and I just thought to myself, this is that time of the year where it could be allergy, hay fever season, or where people get extremely free and forget to wash their hands or use the hand sanitizer. So I didn't know if I was amongst someone who was sick, but I felt it natural to greet people with the shaking of the hand. But reality is real and versus the enjoyment of good and bad practices. But let's all keep in mind of those things. Find your reset button. And during my self-assessment, right, of human interaction, I'm more convinced now than ever that, and this is my self-assessment, right? This is according to Dante. I'm Garrett. I'm on one. So bear with me and let me have my way. And time out, pause just for a second. Keep in mind, I went to go see Erykah Badu here in Atlanta, and oh my gosh, she's ageless, she's dope, she's all things hip hop, even though she's more soul singer. Erykah Badu is that one. So if she has a concert coming to your town, definitely check her out. I won't say who the special guests were, but I was floored by some of the special guests, and some of you saw it on my socials. But Badula Oblongata, aka She Ill, aka Maria Mexico, she did some fantastic things with the songs she has already, versus some of the things. But I'm gonna steal one of her quotes is where I'm going. And so I called a timeout just to let you guys know that I'm new at this, right? I welcome you guys and your comments. And some of you have called me and asked me certain questions, and I love those. But just like Badu Oblongata, okay, She Ill, Dante is saying, keep in mind, I'm a podcaster and I'm sensitive about my... All right, let's get back into it. But during my self-assessment, here's one thing that I'm totally convinced in. And I'm speaking to you, America, more so my region of places I interact. And for those of you that know, I travel a lot on the East Coast, Mid-South, East Coast. I'm totally convinced that customer service is at an all-time low. Why should the consumer continue to render currency for bad service? Have we reached the point of automation where human interaction with customers is non-existent? Do you find yourself paying less for quality, quantity, good service, and satisfaction? Something for you to think about, because something has to change. Either we're going to start to see more world star clips of fights in restaurants. We're going to start returning items at an all-time high because the quality sucks. We're going to start canceling subscriptions because we're not getting the value of what we need. Hence my shirt. It's amazing that we pay for services that just don't amount to anything of good quality. But here's what I say. It starts at home, right? For those of you that have teenagers or adolescents that are just now getting into the workforce, download with them, knowledge transfer with them, make them one, give them a safe space to talk about their day at work, also their process of finding a job, not wanting to stay at a job. See, some of our youth and some of our adults are having a problem putting the phone down, putting labor to action. And I think what happens is when it comes to human interaction, not everybody knows how to handle a cloudy day. Not everybody knows how to handle a stormy day. Not everybody knows how to handle inclement weather when it comes to interaction. What am I saying? Can you be faced with someone that's disgruntled and turn that frown into a smile? I'm not saying you're here to heal the world via customer service, but I am saying if you commit to a line or level of professionalism and you take an oath or responsibility of that field of professionalism and you're a sour lemon every day, come on, man. Check you. I'm starting with me. Again, I use the Michael Jackson song, starting with the man in the mirror, and I'm asking him to change his ways, right? If you want to make the world a better place, you know the rest, right? I don't want to jack up Mike's song. Rest in peace, Mike. It's been a minute, but you still have prolific songs that touch us, and that's just one. And I challenge you all to go listen to the lyrics of Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson. But customer services, it's something different now. I did some research, and I found out that when you go to a restaurant, some of you may already know this, but this is something I wanted to know for a fact. When you go to a restaurant and you pull around to that drive-through, right, you now hear an automated voice asking you, do you want to cap in or do you want to redeem your rewards points? And then someone is listening to that, right? Because what that does is it triggers you to give your member ID, But the basis, when you come around and you place your order with an actual human or an automated bot in that drive-through, they ask you to pull around to the first or second window. Maybe 7 out of 10 of you are asked when you go to that second window, okay, we got your order cooking, or we're preparing your order. Do you mind pulling up to space number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Or would you mind pulling up to the yellow line? Or would you mind pulling up to the white line? Or, hey, would you mind waiting over here? We'll bring your order to you when it's done. This is what I found out about drive-thrus. When they ask you to pull up to that line, you may not have anyone behind you, but they'll ask you to pull up to that line. This is what I found out. And I thought it was amazing, but yet disgusting at the same time, because it's not giving true data. They ask you to pull up to that line because they don't want their order service to delivery time in queue to look bad. This is a reflection on the general manager. This is a reflection on training. This is also a reflection on how they assemble certain orders based on how they're created, i.e., give me a number 1, give me a number 2. You don't say specifics. 1, 2, 3, whatever the case is. I'll have an A, I'll have a B, I'll have a Johnny special, I'll have a Dante special, yada, yada. My point is they ask you to pull up because they don't want their statistics to go down of how you order that food and time in the queue. I call a cap on that. For those of you that are asking people to pull up, that's cap because you're not actually giving true data. You're never going to be able to identify what the problem is if you keep going around the problem. There needs to be problem statements. There needs to be problems identified and called out. I'm getting too deep into analytics, and some of you do understand that that's part of my bag, part of my gig, part of my jam is to assume the data and tell what the data or interpret what the data actually says. But that really threw me for a loop. So please keep in mind that the things you do may not actually be what they are when it comes to customer service, and a lot of that is to cover up something bigger. If you start to get a lot of bad customer service, that facility, that place could be on the decline. And that was just one thing I wanted to bring to your attention just from research, because I wanted I wanted answers, and I had questions. For those of you who are researching a good book for self-improvement and also to be a better person in your work environment, look up the 7 Whys. Look that book up, and I'll give you guys the information at a later point. Well, hey guys, it's that time of the year, right? We're in August. What does that mean for most of our nation, or at least I can speak regionally, that most of our youngsters are going back to school, and school should be underway mostly around the nation, with the exception of a few cities and states. And for those that are doing private and charters, your schedules may have already started. You may be knee deep in it. There are some all year round schools out there, but I'm speaking mostly to the public schools and some of you that have that seasonal start schedule. And now is the time for a lot of them to start. I wish you guys the best. I'm so sick of these school shootings. So please hug, love, and also interact with your children. If you are a guardian, if you're a mentor, a coach, a teacher, definitely the teachers. I know you have limitations with what you can do with the students, but please try to invoke or advocate some sort of hope for these kids, because behind the scenes, what they're going through at home is something different for those that are struggling. But I wanted to send a charge out to families and their children. And if I can be a little bit more selfish again, sometimes I like to hone in onto those teenagers, those adolescents, and even the young adults, if I can, as they embark upon this thing called life. School is a part of life, and that is a significant value of what they're embarking. So let me just give you something that you may already know, but I just want to put some context around what I'm about to say. So from 1981, those that were born from 1981 to 1996, they're considered millennials. From 97 to 2012, they're Gen Z. Those that were born 2013, that goes all the way up to 2025, they're Gen Alpha. Okay? I said that just so you can understand the category of school-age children, adolescents, and even some young adults, right? Most of these ones I just mentioned all too much know what a cell phone is. And human interaction may not be a thing, so their human interaction may be a false narrative, if you understand what I'm saying. Rock with me and I'll tell you where I'm going. People that you see, and this is what I want you to just have a dialogue. What I'm about to say is subjective, okay? That's what it really comes down to. What I'm about to say is subjective when it comes to knowledge share and knowledge transfer. People that you see every day are not necessarily those that fit into a category of what it is to be a friend, right? Studies have shown that you will more than likely forget those that you know over a 1 to 3 year time span. That could mean, hey, it could be a move, a transfer. For you military folks, changing duty station. For you guys graduating, it could be a matter of you going on to new ventures in life. But studies have shown that you're more than likely to forget about that person in 1 to 3 years. Now, social media may help you see the interactions of individuals, but that doesn't necessarily give you it's masked identity, right, of who those people are. And just to add a little bit more of what I'm saying, I had a conversation with some young kids that were going back to school, and they said they were mostly looking forward to going back and seeing their friends. And this is an individual that I know doesn't interact with a lot of people. So I wanted to go a little bit more, and it caused me to get into this subject matter that I want to dialogue about today. But just to add a little bit more context, those that are in their classes are not necessarily friends, they're classmates. All right? Those on their teams are considered squad or teammates. Now, I understand what it is to take the field with honor and valor, right? I don't know why we equate taking the field to war, but that seems to be the mentality. Prior to certain teams and squads taking the field, they build the bond where they want to get where they want to go grab the victory flag. But those are squad and teammates. And those on your job, adults, adolescents, young adults. Those on your job are considered colleagues or coworkers. And I think so often, and we get it twisted of who we identify as our friends when they actually have titles or they're actually categories for certain individuals, right? But when it comes to hip hop, I needed a little help to identify and give some tyology to what I'm saying. So there's a group that I think that hit this out of the park, right? And it's that trio, them Brooklyn boys, right? Called Whodini. Y'all know who they are. Jalil, Ecstasy, and DJ Grandmaster D. So funny. I was at my daughter's talent show. She got up and sung, and a guy turned around and said, "That's your daughter?" I said, "Yeah." I was almost in tears, or maybe I wasn't. I think it was something in the air. But nonetheless, the guy turned around and said that was something special. That was good. That was good. And when the lights came on, I realized that was Grandmaster D. And I looked at him, and you know how sometimes you don't want to be jocking people, and it's not always about the picture. Sometimes it's about just honoring the person. I said, "Yo, Grandmaster D, salute." And he gave me the salute back, and that was the irony of me actually meeting him. But Jalil, Ecstasy, rest in peace, my man. Whodini had a sound that was almost like an R&B group. If you listen to the music, you could have put any melodic singer behind their music and made a dope track, a timeless track. But for them to be MCs, B-boys, and part of the culture, Whodini brought something new to the game of hip hop. I want to talk about the song Friends, right? As I equate and bring some of these together in tyology, because there's a lot of prolific songs, and there's a lot of prolific lyrics in some of the songs that can sometimes help us out. But I want to talk about Friends, one of the illest beats in hip hop, right? One of the illest and realest stories ever told on wax. It goes up there with like Children's Story and some of the other stories that actually leave you with a head scratcher at the end. But Friends was birthed off the Escape album, right? And they were on Jive Records, and they put this thing out in 1984. Yes, this was an 80s track. 5 Minutes of Funk was on the B-side, and arguably one of the greatest stories ever told on wax, as I mentioned before. One of the most notable usage of the song and beat was that being Nas and L Boogie, Lauryn Hill, If I Ruled the World. And not only that was a banger, by the way, but that was also a take and a salute to one of the earlier pioneers, Curtis Blow, If I Ruled the World. So you see how music has this way of repeating itself. But the song dives into a concept of friendship. They said it without saying it, that basically friends are few and far between. But let me just give you a little bit of the content. Let me give you a little bit of the sauce of the song, which is extreme dopeness. Check it out. Friends is a word we use every day. Most of the time we use it in the wrong way. Now you can look the word up again and again, but y'all know the rest. The dictionary doesn't know the meaning of friends. And if you ask me, you know I couldn't be much help, because a friend's somebody you judge for yourself. I'm starting to get my bop on. Some are okay and they treat you real cool, but some mistake your kindness for being a fool. We like to be this one right here this is the one. We like to be with some because they're funny. Others come around when they need some money. Some you grew up with around the way and you're still close with to this very day. Homeboys through the summer, winter, spring, and fall. And then there's some I wish I never knew at all. And this list goes on again and again. But these are the people that we call friends, right? Prophets. For them cats to actually wrote the song or have written the song back in the 80s, the backstory of this song was, I can't remember if it was Jalil or Ecstasy. Let's just say Jalil. I think it was Jalil for the sake of my memory. But if I'm wrong, I'll take the L and own that. But they were trying to raise some money for a friend that was hospitalized. And they knew they wanted this song to be a bop. So these cats didn't just say, hey, we're going to go local. We're going to go to a Brooklyn studio and we're going to record this thing and we're going to put it out. Nah, they went across the pond and they dropped this record and they recorded it and it was a hit. You know, there's another one, another verse that I just want to dive into briefly, because in relationships, could it be that the sustainability is not long lasting because, hold that thought, listen. It could have lasted longer because it all started out so strong, but I guess we went about the whole thing wrong. Because out of nowhere, it just came to an end because guess what? We hit them sheets before we were friends. No, the lyrics say because we became lovers before we were friends. Now think about that. Majority of relationships in the beginning are based on all lies. Nowadays, they don't even ask for the 7 digits anymore. What's your Insta? Share me your gram. And as a matter of fact, if you go to the hamburger up there, you can create a QR code. Hamburger's in the menu, by the way. You can create a QR code. And now you don't have to say nothing. You could be in a club, music's blaring, you can't hear anybody, and you just show them their QR code, they'll pull out their picture, take that picture, next thing you know, your Instagram friends. And what happens after that? The DM action starts to happen. And that's where it gets real and ugly. The last verse, and I'm out of here on this one, of Friends. Deep. Because for years, I was thinking it was still about the fellas, but this one was about 2 girls. Ladies, here we go. Here we go, ladies. You say you and your girlfriend were so tight, you took her out with you and your guy one night. Ooh, you know how you do, girl. Come with me. He got the money. He gonna take us out. Yeah, let's do it. And you go fresh to death. But she comes fresher than you. She even had a set of keys to your home and you shared mostly everything you own. But as she shook your hand, she stole your man. And it was done so sweet, it had to be a plan. Couldn't trust her with cheese, let alone your keys. With friends like that, you don't need enemies. You wonder how long it was all going on and you're still not sure if you're glad he's gone. You say, well, if she took him, he was never mine, girl. Good riddance. Bye. Bye, boy. You say, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm being silly. But you wonder how long it was all going on and you're still not sure if you're glad he's gone. You say, well, if she took him, he was never mine. But deep inside, you know that that's just another lie. And now you're kind of cold towards people you meet because of something that was done by some creep. But nevertheless, I'll say it again, that these are the people that we call friends. And you know what that made me think about? This old world base level guy that's in the NBA. And it makes me wonder, who are his friends? Yeah, I'm talking about him, Ja Morant. That's not my squad. He's not my favorite player, but guess what? Here's something that I do know. The boy can ball. I feel Ja Morant is a derivative of hip hop, but not just hip hop. I feel Ja Morant is a derivative of a lot of NBA players, and I feel like he's next, not like next up. The boy is starting. Matter of fact, Ja Morant is starting to really get the calls from the referee that he really needs to be that guy. You know, when we can see it and you can't, that's an issue. So what that means is your circle should be able to tell you, yo, Ja, you got M's behind your check. Don't do that, fam. Or are your friends the turn-up cats where they're like, hey, we the Plastic Cup boys, let's just turn it up. Pour me a little something. Let's do a little something. Matter of fact, I'm bored, man. Let's go get a gun. Brandishing a gun on live, yo? I don't want to get into the laws and all of that in the background about what I think about how the laws affect some young people who don't know any better in the generation that they're in. But that's another conversation for another day. But one thing I will say is Ja Morant. You are a image that others want to be like. The way you rock your hair, the way your swagger is on and off the court. Some people aspire to be like that. Maybe not like you because they feel they could probably do it better than you. But the way you come down to court at high velocity and you rise up on all world players like that being a LeBron James, and you cock that thing back to the east and you bring it west and dunk on a fool, fam, you have mad talent and we want to see you win. But it makes me question, fam, who are your friends? And we keep hearing about this cat, Devontae Pack. This dude is courtside. This dude is rocking with you. This dude is everywhere you go. But is he your guy? Is he your guy? Like, I'm sure he's your man's and everything, but is he the one to go, nah, fam, I don't want to see you catch this L. Don't do that. Pull him to the side, Devontae. And you get through your stuff the best way you can too, and don't even get me started. Pops, T. Morant, with the stunner shades on, full court, with a plastic cup in your hand. I'm not saying that you should de-identify you are. Let me say this in case you've never heard it before. And if you're listening to me, T, listen good. And let's just talk man to man, father to father, okay? I'm not here to put you down. I'm here to be a truth teller. I'm not your friend, but I am somebody who witnessed what greatness is. And let me tell you something. You've done something great with that young man. See, y'all want me to be a truth teller or what? See, we killed the Ball brothers. We killed their dad. Y'all killed them out there. He need to shut up. He need to mind his business. He need to stay out of the videos. Like Suge told Puff. But did y'all think for 1 second this man raised these boys to do something great? So, T, I'm bringing it back on you. You're doing something great. And as a matter of fact, I did a little research on you, Pops. I found out and I heard that you could actually do something with that rock as well. I heard you could shoot that thing. I heard you was the man on the court. I mean, you wasn't the guy, but you was about to ball his life. Okay, let's just say that for the sake of narrative. But I cannot take away that you're raising a young black man in this country in this day and age, and he's making M's. You're doing something right, Pops. But at the same time, man to man, father to father, you have to look at the man in the mirror and ask him to change his ways. If it was my son, Mr. Morant, I'm talking to my son and I'm saying, hey, yo, I don't agree with that, right? I'm also not adding gasoline to the fire. And I'm not saying change who you are, because it wasn't my story that I raised a young man to go to the NBA and ball out. That means you put a ball in his hand. That means you spent time with him. That means you signed him up for AAU. That means you put him in the right places to do the right things. But as I also understand that Ja got it on his own as well. They weren't looking at Ja. They found Ja by mistake and found the diamond in the rough. But I still give you credit. I still salute you. But at this time, you're not his friend. And I'm talking to you man to man, father to father. We both could sit down, have cigars, and talk about what it is to be a father. And I think you and I will have a lot in common. However, my man, the perception is obvious. The perception doesn't tell the whole story. But let's just look at the Curry's father. And I don't know if that was a great example, because I heard he was out in these streets and these sheets. But nonetheless, I think you understand where I'm going. I don't want to totally kill you on the fact that you out here looking like his friend, but I am saying at some point, I pray and I hope, and we're not privy to the conversations that you have with your son, but Mr. T, can you please tell Ja that we want to see him win, and the things that he's doing repetitively is not working to his benefit, to be an influence for the kids that I mentor, that when they shoot the rock or when they go up for a layup, they're like, Ja. You remember they used to say Kobe? You remember they used to say Jordan? You remember they used to say Dr. J? They're saying Ja now, and the ladies love him. So tell him to chill, please. Tell him to chill. We want to see him be about that life. care nothing about my broken English. We want to see him about their life. Continuing on with friends, I'm going to issue a trigger warning on this one. This one's sensitive to me, and I'm sure it is for you as well. But this story don't make no damn sense. Sister, Carly Russell. What the hell, yo? I'm saying that up front because, again, I'm very analytical. But that's where I stop. Because there's something there that we don't know. And I'm not here to kill you. I'm not here to do that. But Carly Russell, for those that don't know or have not been listening to the information that's been provided about this young lady, 25-year-old woman out of Alabama, nursing student. Carly, do you have any friends? Or better yet, mute that. I'm going to mute up on that. Yo, Carly's friends, are y'all out there? Are y'all reaching out? Are y'all providing the air support? Obviously, this lady's going through something and needs some truth tellers in her life. Don't kill her, right? But she needs some help in some fashion or form. I'm not the medical provider to say that she has an issue. Again, I become the court of public opinion when I hear and see and I put two and two together and it makes zero. That math just doesn't math when it comes to the storyline of what she gave. Let me get into it. According to her attorneys, the young lady was never kidnapped. She was never kidnapped, and basically it was a hoax. And some may say, let the streets tell it, oh, she was trying to get away from an abusive relationship. They said she fabricated all of this because she was going through something with her boyfriend. Well, this dude got online. And he was trying to exonerate himself. This guy was pretty much like, oh, my goodness, my heart goes out to her. She was kidnapped. But then later he came back and said she wasn't. There's a dead fish out of the water in that situation, but not enough evidence to put it together. That's what's weird about this situation. But one thing I will say, and I'm still on the subject of friends and parents, guardians, big siblings, do me a favor. Take it from your boy Don or Rick James over here. There's this little story that made a big impact on my life. And we've all been down negative alley at some point in our lives. So for those of you that are listening to my voice, judging me based on my honesty or forgetting where you came from, and that being that you have told a lie before, shame on you. Mute up. We don't want to hear your perfect life. Yeah, we've all been down that road, including myself. But let me tell you something that got me all the way together. And that was a boy who cried wolf, right? And that story still hold weight to this day, which goes back. This story goes way back to ancient Greece. And it's such, parents, adolescents, please share that with your kids. Because the bottom line is this. A liar will have a hard time being trusted, or it's hard to believe a liar even when they're telling the truth. But I tell you what is true about this situation with Carly. That this, I said trigger warning, so I'm going to say it again, trigger warning. That this makes a bad case for other young women with real reports, such as this one that was made up. This makes for a bad case for young, distressed black women who are put in situations like this or similar. I won't share too much, but, well, let me point the finger back at you. Have you ever been in a situation where you know a young woman was in need of help, missing, or something to that case, and there were no breadcrumbs? It's the worst feeling in the world. And I won't go into detail, but in my community of people that I know that happened to someone, this does not make for that to be a good case. Let me tell you what else it doesn't help. Ladies, listen. Be careful who you associate yourself with as friends, because this makes for a bad case of me pulling over and helping a woman who may have a flat tire on a dark, rainy, snowy, inclement weather night that she's pulled over with her flashers on. It makes me question, is this real? Is it a setup? Is this a jack move? Do I need to watch my six? It just makes me want to just drive by and ignore the fact that there's someone who needs help. This makes for a bad case, Carly. I hope you're listening. Or your camp. I hope you're listening. Most importantly, this fabricated story is distasteful to those who didn't make it home last night, who's not going to make it home tonight, or for those in the future who needs help, but they're ignored because of this situation. Criminal justice background. You know what makes for cases? Some Westlaw. Westlaw pretty much archives cases that were won, lost, or things like this that goes to the courts, and it makes for proof of what happened, what did not happen. And I may have had that wrong, or I may have twisted some of that, but I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. You're making a case that goes in the books that says this was a big, fat lie. Trigger warning again, because I'm on one. And let this be a note to everyone that can hear my voice. Parents, talk to your teenagers and your young adults, especially the ones that are at the crib. If this is some, I was ready to give you guys that expletive that I'll talk to you about. But if this is some funky little cheap challenge on TikTok, if this is something new that we're doing for clout chasing, mute up. Stop, yo. Stop. Stop. I talked about human interaction, and I'm also talking about AI at the same time. Make it make sense. If you're doing this for the gram, that's disgusting. We don't want to see that because of the boy who cried wolf. Stop it. If this is one of them challenges where we're going to the extreme, oh, it's a prank. People are doing things for likes now. Likes is basically the new currency. If this is what you're doing for likes, miss us with all of that. Mute up on that. We don't want to hear that. Cut the cameras off. We don't want to see that. You know, go write a novel or a book or something where they do that, but don't actually live it. Out of here. And you know what's crazy? Here's the thing. When they were given this story and they were talking about the young lady that was missing during the 49 hour, going into day 3, where she was missing, they took the camera to the young lady's subdivision or community. And you saw majority. I didn't see any black people. I saw majority Caucasian. And these cats was out with signs. They had their run, walk shoes on. They was ready to hit the backwoods. These cats were in a circle about to intercede on the parents' behalf, or they were about to intercede on Carly's behalf. Did she make it home safe? They cut the camera. They went back into the studio and they came back and they shot a Caucasian male. And this gentleman was damn near in tears saying, I had to, this is what he said. The man said, I had to think of what I would do or how I would feel if it was my daughter. You know what that's called? Inclusion. Let me pause here for 1 second. How's that going on your jobs? You guys still got your DEI? Are you guys still talking about the DIE or the IDE? Oh, you don't know what that is? Diversity, inclusion, equity. Last time I checked, companies were downsizing, and guess which department they let go? The DE&I folks. Y'all still woke? We still telling companies how to be diverse, right? Your CEOs and your CIOs and your CFOs, y'all still involved with the process? Where y'all at? Last time I checked, budget cuts, they were trimming the fat on those departments. Not necessary anymore, right? That was a fad. The coward had his knee on the man's neck. And y'all saw it. We've been seeing it. But y'all saw it. Y'all, who is y'all? Y'all equals everybody, including those across the pond. And it was disgusting. And we took actions. Social injustice were hashtags. Black Lives Matter were fads. Diversity, inclusion, and equity were catchphrases. So much that companies were so interested in it. I can get into a whole monologue about that, and maybe we'll talk about that at another day. But you know who else tricked us on the whole friends tip? I said I was going to get to it. Stephen A. and Max Kellerman. Were y'all actually friends? Because y'all showed a TV air autonomy and persona that made us think that y'all was cool like that. And y'all were given extreme wokeness during the pandemic that spilled over into sports. And then we start to see the public belittling started to happen by yours truly, Mr. Screaming A. Smith. And it was disgusting. But I still tuned in because I loved what they had. The autonomy was through the roof. And Stephen A., stop. We understand that you got the power. Snap. Stop. Stop saying that it just didn't work. Just let it be. Let it fade in the wind. We understand you're the man on campus, but guess what? There's a time and place for everything, my guy. I don't want to hear Stephen A. say one more time that it wasn't working. That show was fire. And I stand on that when Max Kellerman was on there. Max Kellerman, okay. When Max was on there, understand how the whole show started to shift towards culture awareness. And I'm not just talking about the wokeness part. I'm talking about how the show shifted to have a hip hop feel. You remember they moved back to they moved back to New York, right? They was in Connecticut, Bristol. I think they was in Bristol, and then they moved back to New York. Do you remember how the whole setting was? And they used to use the phrase, drop my DJ music or drop my theme music. They even had the turntable, and they was giving a lot of homages to hip hop. And I remember Max Kellerman quoting people like Tila Rock, Cool G Rap, Rakim, KRS-One. I heard him quoting people like Maxine Waters, Dr. Martin Luther King. He was talking about HBCUs, and he was so up on it. This guy was speaking more about social injustice that I had ever heard anybody speak on a live show where you can't go stop, edit, fix that, take that out. People in his ear. Max was going ham. And that's what I was loving about the show, Stephen A. and Max. Max was very articulate with his subjects and verbs. The boy can speak. Okay, so let's say he was a 6 to your 8, Stephen A. What say you about helping build him up? Because y'all had the chemistry. I don't know what y'all did off camera. And then let me add to that. To bring the third Will in. Yeah, y'all remember Will. Will Kane? That was the show. Stephen A. used to be on his toes. Stephen A. used to be on his business. But I love seeing that because it was good to see disruptive thinking. And that show had that. I don't see it now on First Take. Stephen A. brags about how much the ratings was up and through the roof. Well, maybe you ought to think about who's your co. Will Kane is now, I believe, on Fox. That's interesting. I don't know if this says something about Disney. I don't know if this says something about the production team at ESPN, but y'all had it going on. I was tuning in like clockwork. Screaming A was at it. I was my guy. Max, Steve. Oh, man, what? Dun, dun, dun. When I heard the theme song, I was just crunk. Because I knew I was going to get some special sauce that day. We heard things like Bad Man, and we heard things like Fall Off a Cliff regarding progression and time in from Max to Tom Brady and Stephen A's take on Aaron Rodgers. I think they were lifting both of them dudes' career, and I don't even think they saw it. I think Max put a battery in Tom Brady's back. I digress. But from what Stephen A goes on a world tour and saying, it could be the people that are asking him the questions rather than them saying, hey, Stephen A, we loved what y'all had. It's almost provocative questions like, man, what happened? As if people want that thing. Why do we always go for the tea and want to spill the tea? Please stop it. Please stop. Please stop. Messy boots. Please stop. But when we think about the analytics of sports talk, and we think about the big breakups, and where was the friendship, or was it all business? Y'all know I was going to go there because I kind of said it. First Take, Stephen A, Skip Bayless. Yes, let's go over to FS1. Skip and Shay Shay. Dope. Dope. Let me tell you something. It was always a battle for me to watch First Take and Undisputed, because they came on around the same time. Now, I kind of like what they're doing when they're cleaning house right now. I hate that people lost their job. Let me go back to Stephen A. And First Take for a second. Because you talk about friends, right? When you look at the beautiful Molly, who's sitting up there moderating her ass off, no pun intended, there were allegations of Stephen A having a jump off with Molly. But Molly and Jay Rose was going through a separation, and I believe led to a divorce. I don't want to confirm that, but I believe it's done. That don't sound too friendly. And if you got the keys, Stephen A, sounds like you're cleaning house, or it sounds like you have control over the voices, or at least the ears that can say, what do we need to do, Stephen A? But this is all speculative. I still love you, Stephen A, but what's wrong with me being a truth teller? And in your own jargon, let me know how that works out. And no, I'm not on the weed. We observe and we see things. And I didn't like that. I don't like the fact that Max is not on ESPN right now, and I'm talking about it. But more power to you, Stephen A. Skip and Shay Shay. Well, y'all friends or just friendly? Because Shay used to always talk how much he adored Skip and his wife, and how they had so much autonomy on and off the clock. I think these dudes even went running together, biking together. They worked out sometimes until the pandemic hit, and then it kind of did some things. But the way it ended was just shice nasty. And Skip, you must have given Stephen A the blueprint, because when thou has the keys, thou can slice though. Terrible. Terrible King James interpretation. But y'all get what I'm saying. Skip is that dude now when it comes to live analytical sports talk. He has historical data on owners, GMs, coaches, and it's across multiple sports, right? Now, they had their specialty in what they talked about, but Stephen A actually has a tenure in the game that speaks for itself. And the man was actually a notable and reputable voice in sports entertainment, right? But then here comes Shay Shay. And if I'm not mistaken, he was deemed a little illiterate sometimes by Skip, but Shay always put people and Skip in their place, because Shay was one to own his L's. But let me tell you something. He wasn't afraid to put it in a pot. The man was not afraid to put an apron on. I mean, he was cooking up in that joint. And it was show after show. And we saw the maturation of Shannon Sharp on FS1. And that killed me on that last episode when Shannon started to get emotional. I was like, oh, man, hold it together, Shay. But let me tell you why I'm so disappointed. Because Shannon taught me some things. The maturation of Shannon was just incredible. And he gave me multi-angles of sports, not just football. And he had the knowledge, and his growth was through the roof. And there's no telling where this man would have been had he sustained that co-seat on Undisputed. Listen, Shannon actually taught me how to watch film. You know what he said? Turn the volume off. See, a person who's participated in a violent sport as football is, you remember how some collisions are. You remember how some of them licks feel. But at the same time, you kind of have a smell and desire come July, August, when the grass is greener and, you know, we start to get that autumn weather, that nasty, muggy, rainy, but yet football is in the air. So he turns it down so he can be more analytical. And that was basketball. That was baseball. I don't think it was boxing, but it was most of the sports that they were giving takes on. And I started to do that myself because you want to see. You want to be able to give an eyeball test of what you see. And Shay actually taught me that. And I thought it was dope because I started to have a new enjoyment for watching some sports, that way. And in addition to that, so Shannon's no longer on the show, but guess what else we don't have? What happened to Club Shay Shay? Where the club at? We're going to do something for a 2-something. Shay, where you at? That's why I said it ended on some shice nasty stuff. But I've heard, I don't know if the show will ever be what it used to be with Shay, but I've heard that old Shay Shay got something cooking, and I wish him the best. You know, that's my tangent on Friends, right? This is basically a derivative from the Zero episode, all right? And before I get out of here, let me just talk about 2 things briefly, right, that were kind of disturbing to me. First thing is throwing things at artists. Shame on you. What are you there for? We keep talking about the human interaction. You guys are acting a fool coming out of the lockdown version of the pandemic. We're still in the pandemic. You just don't want to admit it, right? But do not pay your duckies to go to a concert and do dodo stuff like throwing it. Last I heard, Cardi B had something thrown at him, but Cardi B had that beeline. She threw it right back at him and clocked him. Right? Chill out with that. It makes me reference an old movie, The Blues Brothers, when they were performing Stand By Your Man at that country music bar, and they had the chicken wire on front of the stage, and you couldn't figure out what the chicken wire was for. But when they hit that bloom 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 boom, stand by your man, that dude picked that beer bottle up and threw it there. It was a sign of affection. It was a sign of acceptance. We're not there. That was a comedy, right? Shout out to Belushi and Aykroyd. I think I got that right. But the Blues Brothers, hot flick. If y'all want to go back and watch something nostalgia, that was the one. That was one of them old goodies. But anyway, chill out with that. Another thing that got me was aliens are amongst us. Really? I think this is just me personally, right? Talking conspiracy theory. And my man out there, you know, we get on the phone and we start talking conspiracy theory type stuff. So here's mine, right? It's a little dodo, but this is just me. They want more money to invest in research. So they're making this hoopla about discoveries that they can't confirm. They can't show pictures, but describing basically the works of a drone, the flight dimensions and the flight patterns of what a drone does. Me personally, I think it's for them to get more money to aid in research towards life beyond our solar. That's just my thought. That's my take. But we shall see. But my question to you guys is, what type of aliens would you like to interact with? Just a thought. Who would you like to meet as an alien? What's their form? What's their gesture? And how would you welcome them? Something for you to think about. Last thing, and this is sensitive, slight trigger warning for some. But in the greater Atlanta area, there are no large bodies of water. You actually have to go north, more kind of northeast, northwest, more northeast, to get to Lake Lanier. And Lake Lanier has had multiple accidents annually, and it's getting ridiculous. But let me just kill the air on some of the things. I have family members that have boats, out there, and they have their boats docked at housing stations and housing docks. And we've actually went up there and had great times. I even have a friend that has a lake house up there. And I also have another friend that charters boats up at Lanier, and fantastic times. I've had nothing but great experiences, but that's not to say that the underlining story about Forsyth County is or isn't true. My daughter had an assignment, and she done some research on Lake Lanier, and it was haunting. I challenge you all go out to look at the last season of Atlanta with my man Donald Glover. Excellent writer. That's just my opinion. And look at the first episode of the last season where they talk about Lake Lanier. These are some of the things that I'm talking about. But those were things that just came to mind of that. Throwing things at artists, cut that junk out. Aliens amongst us, shoulder shrug, and Lake Lanier. It's subjective. It can go either way. But my question is, are you going to Lake Lanier to hang out? It's on you. Hey guys, that is my time. I hope and pray that you enjoyed this episode. If not, I'm here for the smoke. I don't want no sauce, but I'm here for the smoke. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, we are available on Spotify, so go out where you're in your cars, you're on your treadmills or whatnot, and you want to hear the heDONizm episode 1, please go out to that. But I'm just going to close you guys out with this, and I said it before and I'll say it again. We're in the age of cancel culture, judged by the court of public opinion, and I'll be careful with my words, but just in case I get out of pocket, don't hold me to it, y'all. I'm just here to pod. Until we meet again, I'll see you guys next week. Peace.